Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So the first thing I wanted to do in this video was apologize for something I said in the last video, which is that I would see you next week. I didn't mean to say that. I had said it out of habit because I had said it the past couple videos before then. I planned on making a video the next week. Last video, I just said it out of habit, so I'm sorry if you're waiting on that video. I did not make it. I did not plan on making it. I'll be sure not to say it in this one. But other than that, I just want to get right to it. So, as you can tell from the title of today's video, I want to talk about whether or not I achieved my New Year's resolutions this year. And I also just want to tell you guys what my New Year's resolutions are for next year. So this year I had 3 New Year's resolutions. And I know it's not the end of the year yet, but we're almost there, you know. And I had, the first one was to write at least 1/4 of my memoir. The second one was to get all A's in my classes. And the third one was to stop caring so much about what people think of me. So for the first New Year's resolution to write at least 1/4 of my memoir, I actually don't know if I achieved that or not. And the reason for that is something I didn't realize, and I don't think I would have realized it until I started writing seriously for my memoir, is that, especially for a memoir, it's not my cat, it's my sister's cat. Her name's Bella. Sorry, Dandelion is not featured in this unless she pops up somewhere. There she is. Can you see her? You can't see her. Dandelion! Hi! Aww, she's so cute. Okay, let me get this situated again. Anyway, something like that. I don't think that was right. Sorry, guys. Okay, anyway, so something I wouldn't have realized is that, especially for a memoir, you can't actually know if you've written 1/4 of your memoir or not, because I don't know what I'm going to include and what I'm not going to include. Like, I know I'm going to include really important things and things that I'm going to try to be as truthful as I possibly can while still giving justice to what I feel like I went through. At the same time, I don't know what I'm going to keep, what I'm going to not keep. Meaning, like, there's things that just aren't necessarily necessary in a story, like just like in even a fiction story. You don't write about like the person going to the bathroom unless it's like a focal point of the story. So I will say that I've written a bunch of memories down, and I've now gotten to a point where I actually like have started writing the beginning of the memoir. And I know that for someone who doesn't write, or even maybe for someone who does write, they might be like, you've only just now gotten to that point. But again, for writing a memoir, like, writing down the memories is where I had to begin. It's where I had to begin for me, at least. And so I've written down like a bunch of memories, and not just, sloppily. Some of them are sloppy to get the bad writing out of my system, but I've written them, cohesively, hopefully skillfully and accurately. And I've got like maybe at least 20 memories written down, maybe even more. And I'm really proud of myself for having done that. So I've written so much down that it might be 1/4 of my memoir, but admittedly, it's not like 1/4 like from the beginning of the book to, if you're reading it, you've made it 1/4 in. Like, I haven't gotten that. But I'm okay with the progress I made on this year. I made a lot of progress. One thing I will say that I could work on for next year is that most of the writing I did for this year happened between January and March. So, like, my YouTube music recap, I don't use Spotify, so I used my recap was on YouTube Music. I had like a bunch of lo-fi in my recap because when I was writing my memoir, like, I was writing like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week from the first 3 months, and it was like, that's what I would listen to when I write. It's usually lo-fi. And I still wrote between March and now, but not near as much. And that's what made it in my recap, because I wrote for like 8 hours. You know what I mean? That's a lot of hours to be listening to music. So, I will say that like something happened in March in my family, and I also found something out in my life that hurt me a lot. And one thing I have to remember is that I can't just stop creating, stop writing because something bad happened. If anything, that's more of a reason to do it. So one thing I hope to work on next year is even when I'm hurting, to still be disciplined. And I will say I did better at being disciplined this year, for sure. Like, major progress on that end. However, I can't be guaranteed that something bad isn't going to happen next year, and I don't want to stop writing if something does. Give myself a break. Don't get me wrong. Don't be too hard on myself. But if there's something that could have helped me make even more progress on my memoir this year, it would have been to still write, even if I was crying for like 5 hours the night before. I'm just going to be honest. But with that being said, I still think I made major progress on my memoir, and I might have even completed that goal. I just can't know if I did. So my second New Year's resolution was to get all A's in my classes. And technically there's one class that I got like a high B in, but it's just a mandatory class for this college. It doesn't count. To me, it doesn't count. But I got all A's in the classes I took. But admittedly, there were times in which I withdrew from classes because I wasn't getting A's in them, because I knew I wasn't doing as well as I could have. So I've taken a few breaks between, like in March I took a break from classes, and this winter I took a break from classes. But I took classes in spring, and I took classes in the fall. I already signed up for my classes in January. I'm not quitting school or anything, I'm just taking it slow. And I did do really well in my classes that I finished, like really well. I got nominated for a writing editor scholarship at the magazine, for our school like writing magazine, because my creative writing teacher loved my writing so much, and that was like a major success to me. Like, and it wasn't just any teacher; it was my creative writing teacher thought I was a good writer. She nominated me for that without me even knowing, and so I was just really happy to hear that. I got a lot of compliments from my teachers about how great of a writer I am, and I really needed to hear it, I'll be honest, because I doubt myself a lot, and I did really well in the classes that I took. I took sociology, I did really, really well in that, English composition, and creative writing might have been my favorite, so hopefully I still continue to get all A's, and hopefully I want to try to stick to not withdrawing from classes, though I have to cut myself some slack for the reasons I withdrew from classes. But I didn't drop out. I could have dropped out, and I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I would say that I don't know if I would consider myself to have achieved that goal, because I kind of found a loophole. You know what I mean? So can you really? If it's a loophole, it doesn't count. But the next New Year's resolution was to care less about what people think of me. Now, as you guys know on my channel, I honestly think that I've really achieved that. If you want to, you can go watch my how I'm learning to stop caring what people think of me YouTube video that I made not too long ago. I'm not going to explain how I've done it here. You can just go watch that video. I will say it is something I still struggle with, meaning it doesn't come easily. But the more I do it, the more easily it does come to me. And when I do care, I make myself care less quicker, and usually it's at least with people whose opinion I should care about most of the time. Not all the time. I still struggle. I'm not gonna pretend like this is a problem overcome completely, but I don't know if any problem is ever overcome completely. So I think I did a really good job on that. I'm really happy about that. So all that being said, I want to now set New Year's resolutions for next year. So I actually am only doing one New Year's resolution this year. And the reason I'm only doing one New Year's resolution this year is because it's honestly a really hard one. And it's a really big one, and it's major, and I really, really care about it the most out of any New Year's resolution I could make about myself, regarding to my own achievements and things like that. Which is that by the end of next year, I want to have finished the rough draft for my memoir. All of it. Not the finalization, but the rough draft. And one mistake I made this year that I plan to learn from next year is I want to plan out how to achieve my goal. Because before it was just like, I'll write this many hours a day maybe, and then I kind of did, and sometimes I didn't. Whereas now if I really want to have one whole draft finished by the end of next year, I need to make sure that I'm planning out, this is the times I'm going to write. Not just this is how many hours, but this is the time in which I'm going to sit down at the computer and write. And I did make goals. I did make goals like I want to write this many words, but I didn't necessarily plan out how I was going to end up doing that. And the only thing that makes that part hard is that my schedule isn't always the same, especially with school. Like there's days in which I might have a Monday, Wednesday class, and there's times in which I'll have a Tuesday, Thursday class, or just an all-day Friday class. So I have to work around that, and my classes will change throughout the year. So one thing I'm going to do so that I have no excuse to not do it is each week make a schedule of time of things I'm going to do the next week. Because usually, like, the plans I make in this, whether it be work schedule or school schedule or plans with friends, I'll know at least a week in advance. So I have no excuse not to sit down and make that schedule. So this sounds like the second New Year's resolution, but it's not. It just goes in with my New Year's resolution to finish my rough draft. But I want to every week write a schedule for the following week. And schedule also means free time. I need to schedule my free time so that I know, like, I don't want to be hanging out with friends and feeling guilty that I'm hanging out with friends because I could be writing my memoir. And I don't want to be forcing myself to write my memoir when I know that this isn't the time I scheduled for. Or I don't want to decide to hang out with friends when I know I told myself, because I have it written down on paper from last week, that right now I should be writing my memoir. Now don't get me wrong, emergencies are a difference. That makes a difference. If I find out, like, my brother's in the hospital, and he's, hopefully that doesn't happen, but it's just an example. That's an exception. But little things like we're going to go to the bar tonight, I'll be like, sorry, we have to schedule this. And I'll hopefully communicate that to them too so that they know. But another thing is I want to set writing word count goals, which again I did. I just didn't necessarily set time goals. But if I have it written down on paper, then I know this is what I should be doing right now. This is what I should be doing right now. This is what I should be doing later, tomorrow, next week. And it'll work out. So I guess to recap this whole video is that I really think I made a lot of progress this year. Like, a lot. I didn't write, I guess, daily as much as I wanted to, but overall at the end of the year I look at my Google Docs of all the memories I have, and I'm proud of how much I wrote this year. I know I could have done better though, which is why next year I'm planning to focus only on that. And hopefully I have something to show for it next year for my New Year's resolutions. Thank you for watching this video. If you want to share it, I would appreciate it. If you want to comment what your New Year's resolutions are, how you did on yours this year, if you made any, it would be encouraged. I'll see you guys next time.